Hello, welcome back to the new video. So today basically I will be explaining about a role transport. Like first of all I'll be telling you like what are the transport request, what kind of transport requests are available, and I will be explaining about them, and then I'll tell you how to transport roles of SAP. So first of all, when you come to types of transport requests, there are actually two types of transport requests. The first one will be workbench, workbench transport, and the second one will be customizing transport. Okay, the main difference between these two are like in workbench different workbench transport. So basically this is a client independent. Okay, and customizing will be client dependent. So for example, for workbench transport, if I want to give you an example, it will be like any change of code by ABAP developers. These are nothing but workbench request. And for customizing, as you can, I can tell you creation of roles. We create new roles, right? In a development system. So role creation is also an example of customizing transport. Okay. uh, so these are the two kinds of transport requests. Now coming back to SAP, I'll just open my system. So here first I'll show you the single rule, how to transport the single rule. So first I'll be showing you how to transport single rules and composite rules and derived rules, derived and master. So I'll show you what necessity checks you want to do before transporting these things, and what are the different options available while transporting the request, and how to do mass transport also I'll be showing you. So the first one, when it comes to a single rule and you want to transport one set of rules, only this rule, you have created one single rule and you have to transport this rule. So you have to enter the role here. I have already created a role. Okay, so once you add the role here, you have a truck option here, so you can just click on that. Okay, so once you click on that, you'll get these two optional comments: generated profiles of single roles and personalization data. And you also have direct user assignments, which is already grayed out. So but whenever you have this, I'll tell you what direct user assignment is also. So whenever you come to this, generated profiles means this one. This is the profile which is already generated, since we have generated this role already, and this is users assigned, and this is the personalization tab which is used inside the role. Okay, these are predefined, they are defined. So what this means is, when you click on, when you uncheck this generate profiles of single roles, it just, the role just add the, only the role will be added in the transport and no profiles will be added in the transport. So whenever you are transporting, the first and foremost thing is like you have to click on this generate profiles of single, generated profiles of single roles. So whatever changes you have made in authorization objects, those will be captured in the transport. So the second one is personalization data. So these two will be switched on every time. You have to check these options. So the third option is You can or you cannot, like whenever if there is a requirement, like you have done something in changes in quality, and in quality the users who have assigned for this particular role is already mentioned. There are around 5 to 10 users who are assigned with this role. So whenever you do a transport from development system, this option will be it will not be grayed out there. So at that time what happens, you can click on that if you want to move the users also who are assigned to this. Later when you move this, when the transport role is imported, at that time what will be done is, like when you transport, the users also will get reflected in that, in the production system. So it depends. If you want to do like that, you can do, or else usually whenever you create a new role, it should not be assigned to any user. So because of that, every time this should be unchecked as per the standard policy. uh, as per the standard, these direct user assignments, it should be unchecked. Why? Because after moving the role to the production later on, you can get access request management tool, then using through that the roles will be assigned. If you just click on this, the users will be assigned even though they don't raise any access request. The users will get the access to that particular role. So every time only make sure that only these two are checked. Okay, so this is a part of transport options which you can do the which you can check whenever you are transporting a role. Once you check the boxes, you can click on execute. So once you execute, see here, as I told you earlier, for creating a role, you have that customizing request which will be created. So then you have here create request on request, which will be already created. You can click on create request, and here you can mention the short description. Usually the description should be what kind of role you are doing, what kind of transport you are doing. If you have a TR number, then you have to mention the TR number and the date. Usually some people prefer the dates which this got into a transport, which when the transport was created. Like if I say this I was creating on 25th of May, I would give 25th of May 2024. And here next it will be a username who will be creating the transport request. So I'll give the username just as Abhishek. Okay, so I'll create this is the format. Like some people's, in many of the organization, they have different kind of short descriptions normally, so you can follow that. Once this is done, you can just click on save. See, this is your transport request. Okay, you can put it here, you can just note it down anywhere. So this is our transport request number. Okay, once this is done, just click on continue. So now the transport request is created. Okay, where you can see this, go for T code SC10 or SC09 anywhere. Now this is the user from which I am creating. So what I'll do is I'll just open. Okay, so you can see here, create single role TR number 2025 Abhishek. So this is my transport request. So once you create the transport request, usually you will be creating this transport request in the development system. So once this is done, this should be moved to quality for checking, for testing. So at that time what you have to do, you have to click on this. See, you have two things. This is the main request number, and this is the child request number created automatically. So whenever you are releasing the transport request, you have to click on, first you have to release the child request and then the master. So first you have to click on this, and then you have another truck symbol here, release directly. You can click on that. So this is released. Then you have to click on this and click on release. See, you can see here, right, these two icons. So these are released, and these can be, it means that these transport requests are released and they can be imported in the different system. So for importing, that will be the basis task. Usually they'll go for STMS import and they'll enter our transport request number and then they will import. They can use the find option. That's basis task. Okay, you will just create a transport request and then release them. So these are basically for single role. How about a composite role? So for composite role, I have created a composite role. Inside that I have these two roles. One is a derived role, one is a single role. So whenever you are transporting a composite role or you are doing any changes in the composite role or you have created a fresh composite role, at that time that's fine. Whenever you can, same thing, you have to click on transport icon and you have to, here also you have, see, whenever you are adding a composite role you get some more options here. These two are fine: generate profiles for single roles, personalization data, direct user. These three I told you already in the while transporting the first role. You have another option, single roles in composite role. So whenever, if this composite role is fresh, it's a new one, new composite role, then that's fine to check this box. But the tricky part here is, like, whenever it's not a fresh role, if you get a request that you have to do some changes for any one of these roles in development system, think like you are working in this kind of, in this role, one user, you are, there are two security persons and you are getting this role to modify. So I'll be modifying this role and one of my colleague will be modifying the other role which is inside the composite role. One, my colleague will be modifying this and I'll be modifying this. I'll complete my work. This is the business scenario. What happens? I'll complete my work and I have to transport the request. So whenever you are transporting composite roles, whenever you are transporting composite roles, and if it's a fresh transport, then it's okay to check this unbox. If not, as I told, if the scenario is like you are doing any changes in any one of the single role and your colleague is doing any changes in one of the different role, at that time please do not do uncheck this comment box, because whenever you do this, if you just click on this role, the old related data, the old data will get captured in the transport and the work will be hampered for this role. So because of that, what I suggest is, whenever you're transporting any composite role, just uncheck this. Whenever you're doing changes in any composite role, just uncheck this. If you uncheck this, what happens is, it will just take the metadata changes, the changes made to the roles only. It will take that just metadata and it will transport. So because of that, whenever you are transporting composite role, if it's already created, then uncheck this. If it is not created, it is a fresh transport role, then check this box. So this is the thing for composite role. The same thing again, when you have to click on this execute and you have to go with create, you have to add the short descriptions, then save it. The same thing as single role only. Then finally coming to a master and derived role. Okay, so in master role, whenever you are transporting, you want to transport a master role. So this is the master role. So you want to transport this. When you click on this, you don't get anything here. So first and foremost thing, whenever you are transporting role, you have to transport their respective derived roles also. So for getting derived roles, I have a table agr underscore define, and in this I'll be adding the master role and I have to find what are the derived roles present. If there are n number of derived roles, that's fine. Copy all the things. Okay. So these two are the roles which now you have to transport. Whenever you are adding changes or making anything in the master role, you have to transport all of its derived roles with the master role. So I have copied these two roles which should be transported. I'll be adding them here, and now first you just place your master role and then the derived roles of its. So copy those roles, go to the same table PFCG. Here you have option called utilities. So here you have option called utilities, where you have option called mass transport. This you can use anytime. If you have 100 of single roles, then you have to transport, you have this option. You have all kinds of option here: mass maintenance of authorization, mass editing of composite roles, mass deletion of roles, mass comparison, mass generation. So you have most of the things. So whenever you want to transport this master and derived roles, click on this mass transport, then you add the roles. Once you add the roles, execute, remove this option. Okay, once you remove this option, just click on execute. Then the same thing, create write the description and then save it. Okay, so this is how you will be moving master and derived roles. And the final thing is, if you have a scenario where you want to delete a role from production system, you want to delete a role from the production system. Okay, so at that time what you have to do is, first you have to load it to the transport. Means, see, I have to delete one single role, like, or I'll just take any of the role here which is already created in the system. Okay, I'll take my role itself. So YS role. So this is already created. So I have to delete this role from production system. And it's not like you will go for the production system and PFCG, open PFCG, put the role and click on delete. No, it should move through transport. Okay. So for deleting the roles through transport, first you have to load this role under the transport. It means just add the role and click on this delete role. Sorry, you have to add the role and you have to click on this transport. You have to load the roles. So once you click on this, you have to execute and you have to create a request first. So once you create the request, once request is created, then you come and delete the role. So this is how you want to delete the role. So once this is deleted, in that request will already be created. So whenever you do any changes to these roles, at that time the changes also will get included in that transport. Okay, so because of that, first you have to load it in the transport and then delete. So uh, single roles, after deleting this single role, so please make sure that once you delete the single rule, once you add this into the transport and then delete, and the final thing is go and release it in the SE10 or SE09, whichever you will be using. Okay, so this is how to delete the single rule. And the next I'll be telling you about, if there is a derived role, if this is the derived role, and I have to, if there is a scenario where you have to remove the derived role from the master role. Okay, so this is the derived role. If I click on edit, you have an option called delete inheritance. So before deleting that, make sure that if you do this delete inheritance, this derived role will be a single role, and later on it cannot be, you cannot add any other master roles here. Okay, this is the drawback of this. So whenever you delete the inheritance later. See, it's grayed out. If even though if it's in edit mode, it's grayed out. You cannot again make it add any master roles here. So now the master role is now this is a single role. Then if what you have to do is you have to take this master role, first go to SC16, take AGR underscore define, take whatever derived roles are there. In this it's not there, but you'll have other derived roles also, right? So once you have that, take all the list and then move it in a transport, as I told you earlier how to move master and derived roles. This is how you delete the inheritance from the master role. Okay, so this is one thing. And finally coming to this composite role. So you have a scenario and you have to delete the composite role itself, okay, which is no longer needed. So you will come to development system, and here first what you'll do, you'll not add this in the transport as how you do in single roles. First what you'll do, you will click on edit roles. First you will delete all the single roles which are present in this. Okay, you will delete all the single roles and click on save. So once you do this, you just go back and then you add this composite role in the transport. Okay, do not uncheck this and then click on execute, and then create a transport request, and then you can go for AC16 role deletion composite. See, now this is loaded in the transport. Now what you have to do, you have to first delete this composite role. You have to delete this and then go for AC10, and here you have role deletion composite. Here what you have to do, here you can release now. Okay, now if you move this transport, it will delete the composite role from production system. So this is the scenario how you will be working on transport request in support projects. This transport things are very much important. If you have any doubts, you can please put it in the comment sections. I'll try to reply for that. Thank you for this. See you in next video.